Good evening and welcome to the Voice of the People, where we delve into the most pressing issues facing the Philippines today. I'm your host, Jacob, and tonight we'll be exploring one of the most complex and deeply div- divisive topics in our country right now: extrajudicial killing, or EGK. This issue has touched the lives of many Filipinos, sparking debates about justice, safety, and human rights. Some see EGK as a necessary step in a war on drugs, while others believe it's a violation of our basic freedoms. To help us navigate this difficult and emotional conversation, I'm joined today with these three distinguished panelists. Attorney Jared, a respected human rights lawyer who has worked on numerous EJK cases and brings a balanced perspective on the issue. And also, here is Abel, a father who tragically lost his son to an alleged extrajudicial killing, and Neil, a citizen who credits a police officer with saving his life during a dangerous encounter with a drug abuser.
And lastly, we're also joined tonight by Dr. Joseph, a social worker specializing in community rehabilitation, who has spent 3 years developing programs that help support vulnerable individuals. Dr. Joseph, thank you for being here. Could you share me a bit about how community-based programs can play a role in addressing the root of these crimes?
Thank you, Jacob. Many of those who turn into crime, especially young people, do so because they lack support system or face difficult circumstances. So, community-based programs can offer counseling, vocational training, and other resources to help them avoid these paths. But investing in these preventive measures, we address some of the core issues that lead to the crime, creating safer communities while respecting human dignity.
Thank you, Dr. Joseph. Your insights reminded us that addressing crimes isn't only about punishment, it's also about building a society where everyone has the chance to thrive.
We're here to listen to each other, share our experience, and hopefully find some common ground. Let's begin. EGK killings have left deep scars on our nation, physically, emotionally, and morally. There's anger, fear, grief, and confusion. Some people feel that these actions have restored peace, while others are left grappling with unimaginable loss. Abel, I can only imagine the pain you've been suffering. I want to start with you. Could you share your story with us? How was this tragedy affected you and your family?
My son was killed during a drug raid 2 years ago. He was just 19. He wasn't involved with drug himself, but he was hung out with friends who were. The police said it was uh, just, uh, justified, that they had reason to believe he was involved, but they never showed us any evidence. He was pushed for answers, pleaded for some kind of explanation, but all we got was to move on. It's been rough road for my family. My wife still struggle. She cries every night. We're doing our best to get by, but it's hard to find peace when it feels like there's no justice.
Abel, I'm so sorry for your loss. No family should have go through what you've endured. Thank you for sharing with us. Attorney Jacob, you've worked with families like Abel who's seeking justice for their loved ones. From your perspective as a human rights lawyer, how do you view the legality of this operation? Is there due process?
Thank you, Abel, for sharing your story. My heart goes on to you and your family, but sadly, cases like yours are too far common from a legal standpoint. this Philippine Constitution under Article 3, Section 1 guarantees every Filipino the right to a fair trial and presumption of innocence until proven guilty. However, with the current approach, we are witnessing instances where there are rights that are bypassed that are conserving and because it's undermined by our justice system. At the same time, we must acknowledge that our government faces very real and pressuring issue with drugs and crime. Many communities like Niels feel a heightened sense of safety because of the crackdown. And we cannot ignore those perspectives. So, the challenge is to find ways to address the problem effectively without compromising the basic rights and freedoms we all value.
So it's not just about the violence itself, but also the need for a fair and balanced approach to ensure safety and justice for everyone.
Exactly. But when our police operate as both law enforcers and executors of the justice, we risk encoding public trust in the rule of law. There must be a balance between maintaining and safety and upholding the legal rights of all individuals.
Neil, your experience is quite different from Abel's. You've spoken about a time when a police officer saved your life during a dangerous encounter. Could you please tell us more about what happened?
Yes, absolutely. One night, after a long shift at work, I was walking home when I was attacked by a drug addict. He was out of control, and I honestly thought I was not going to make it. Just when things looked bleak, a police officer arrived on the scene. He was in the right place at the right time and quickly took control of the situation before it escalated further. I genuinely believe that if it were not for him, I will not be here today. Because of that experience, I feel a sense of safety knowing that there are police officers out there ready to take action when it counts.
Thank you for sharing that, Neil. It is important to hear stories like yours too, where quick action by law enforcement prevented a tragedy. Attorney Jared, hearing both sides, do you believe there's a middle ground, way to address crime while also respecting human rights?
Absolutely, Jacob. The government has a duty to address the drug problem, and we can't deny the importance of public safety. However, we must do this within the framework of the law. Community-based rehabilitation, strengthened judicial processes, and addressing the root causes of the drug abuse could be more effective in the long term and a purely punitive approach. So by focusing on the solutions, we can keep our citizens safe and still uphold the basic rights.
I understand that I see the value in protecting rights. But for people like me, it's not hard not to support something that has been made my community feel safer. Seeing fewer addicts on the streets and a noticeable drop in that crime brings a peace that I didn't feel in a long time. I'm thankful for the police taking action because it's given my family and me a chance to live without constant fear.
But at what cost? My son wasn't a criminal, and he's gone now. How many more innocent families need to suffer before we say enough?
It's clear that these issues touches so many lives in deeply personal ways. We have families who are grieving and citizens who feel safer. Attorney Jared, how do you believe we can move forward as a society that respects both public safety and human rights?
We must foster a culture of accountability within law enforcement while also creating safer communities. With the right checks and balances, including the internal reforms and clear guidelines for our police actions, we can build trust in our institution and ensure that every citizen has the right to be protected. This is how we can strengthen our democracy and find lasting peace.
Tonight, we've heard from individuals who experienced extrajudicial killings from different angles. From the pain of losing a loved one to the relief of feeling safer in your community. These are real, raw emotions that reflect the complexity of EJK in the Philippines. Our hope is that through discussions like this, we can find a way forward, a path that balances safety with justice and accountability, with compassion. It's not an easy road, but it's one that we as a nation must strive to achieve. As we've come to the end of tonight's discussion, I want to extend my heartfelt thanks to our panelists, Abel, Anil, and also Attorney Jared. Thanks to our panelists for their bravery in sharing their stories and insights. We've heard powerful perspective on the issue of extrajudicial killings and the complexity surrounding it. From the grief of families who have lost loved ones to the hope expressed by those who feel safer in their communities. This dialogue is just the beginning, and it's essential that we continue to engage in conversations like this, fostering understanding and empathy. Our nation faces challenges that requires us to balance safety, justice, and human rights, and it's responsibility we all share. And also, thank you to our viewers for joining us tonight on Voice of the People. Your engagement in these issues is vital for the future of our country. Let's continue the important conversation in our communities and strive for a Philippines where every life is valued and every voice is heard. That's it. Thank you for tuning in. See you next time. Good night.